And then once again, if you're joining late, just so you know, to go into the link that is in our chat to record your name and the organization you're with so that we can make sure that you are receiving credit for attending this required meeting. We're going to be going over lots of important information today, but before we do so, I just want to echo congratulations that Dr. Lowe brought to you, because we are so happy to have our additional bridge grantees and all of our grantees. We're going to do a lot of exciting stuff together this year to serve the youth of the district, and I just again want to thank you. Alex, if you can skip the next slide, skip that, and let's just look at the agenda real quick. These are just overview of what we're going to be going over today with you. We're going to do a quick overview of the OST office and the Learn24 network, and then we'll discuss each of the topics that you see listed here. Next slide. Okay, so before we dive into the nuts and bolts, here's just a bit of an overview. The Office of Out-of-School Time Grants and Youth Outcomes, or the OST office, as you may hear it referred to, is located within the Office of the Deputy Mayor for Education, and that's Deputy Mayor Paul Kine. And that, of course, is part of the DC Mayor Bowser's office. And the vision of our office is to ensure that children and youth across the district have equitable access to high-quality out-of-school time programs. Next slide. Now, we do this work together, and we do that as part of a network called Learn24. Learn24, again, is a network that supports equitable access to high-quality programs for youth, and the OST offers stewards the Learn24 brand. This includes, as I mentioned, you, our office, the Commission on OST, which advises our office, and other important stakeholders to OST. The way we do this is through coordination among government agencies, targeted grant making, data collection and evaluation, and the provision of training, capacity building, and technical assistance to our out-of-school time providers. Next slide. Each grantee has an assigned grant management specialist, or GMS. The role of the GMS is to provide support from award to closeout. Your assigned GMS will serve as your point of contact for all issues and questions related to grant agreements, invoicing, and resolving any grant issues or concerns. If you are a bridge grantee, which the majority of you on this call should be, your grant management specialist will be Mr. Marcus Shaw. And you'll get to hear from him in just a second. You'll also get to hear from all the other members of the team today as we introduce ourselves and our roles as we present to you. With that, I am going to turn it over to Mr. Shaw so he can start talking to you about some really important information. Oh, I think you're on mute, Marcus.
Sorry about that. Sorry, everybody. Once again, my name is Marcus Shaw, and I am delighted to be here today. I look forward to serving as the grant management specialist for the New Bridge Grantee program, along with the other FY24 OST grantees. First, I just wanted to make sure we covered certain important basic needs, resources for our youth by quickly highlighting the at-risk after-school meals program, meals component at the CACFP program. Next slide. The CACFP is the at-risk after-school program, provides healthy meals and snacks to children and teenagers who participate in after-school programs in low-income areas. So we have provided here helpful links to contact information to help you to see if your after-school program can serve meals and snacks through the CACF program. Next slide. Next, we're going to talk about the grant agreement, and then I will hand over. I'm getting feedback. Then we're going to talk about the grant agreement, and I will hand over to my colleagues who will begin covering some compliance issues. Okay, next slide. So for the FY24, all grant agreements will be executed through the CitySpan Data Management Portal. The way that this will work is you will soon be able to access CitySpan. If you are a new grantee or provided access to the FY24 cycle in your existing CitySpan account, and you are a returning grantee, the content of the FY24 grant cycle will roll over for your grant application completed in CitySpan and into the CitySpan Data Management Portal. This includes your organization, information contacts, all your required documents, program sites, budgets. Once you receive access, you will be able to edit the content. Next slide. The information rolled over from your grant application that you will be able to edit inside the FY24 cycle in CSPAN includes your contact information, program site information, budget, and of course, the budget if your award was less than what was requested. We are going to want you to adjust that. For the program site information, please note that if you're still needing to secure a site, you can contact Ms. Shana Sampson, and she will provide you with a list of DCPS schools that are available. Shana's email is shanna.samson@dc.gov. Content you will not be able to edit includes program model. The OST grantees must provide the program as stated in the application, program objectives as outlined in the grant application, program diagnose number of days of service proposed, type of use to be served, percentage of at-risk, students with special needs, English learners, etc. Next slide. So the OST office highly recommends that grantees who are awarded less than they were requested make adjustments to their budget that does not impact the number of proposed youth to be served. That's first. However, organizations that propose to serve more than the minimum required and will receive less than what they requested may reduce the number to be served as follows. For bridge applicants and FY24 OST organizations that applied for small nonprofit grants who propose to serve more than 15 youth, you may reduce the number served up to the percentage of the funds reduced, i.e., an example, 20%, but no less than the 15 minimum youth. For FY24 OST grantees who are not small nonprofit or bridge grantees who are receiving less than 100,000 who propose to serve more than 50 youth, you may reduce the number served up to the percentage of funds reduced 20% or 30%, but may not reduce to less than 50 minimum use to be served as required by the grant. For FY24 grantees receiving 100,000 or more who propose to serve 60 or more youths, you may reduce the number of served youths to the percentage of funds reduced either 20 or 30%, but may not reduce less than 60% minimum youth. Our rationale for not decreasing below the minimum number served is because the cost per youth allotment with a 20% reduction from the amount requested is still higher than the Wallace Foundation's calculation of average cost provided for OST programming to youth in DC. and is consistent with per youth allocation funded by OSSI through the 21st CCLC. And so with that, I'm going to hand over to another grant management specialist, my colleague Mark Weinberg, who will walk you through the very important compliance issues that you should be working on now, and that is the background clearances for the OST staff and volunteer members.
Real quick, Mark, before you start, I wanted to point out something that was just added to the chat. While Mr. Shaw did a great job of hitting the points, it was not updated in the slide, and that's my fault. So I've included the statement in the chat for those that are bridge grants who propose to serve more than 15 youth. You may reduce the number served up to the percentage of funds reduced. So if you received only 80% of your grant, you can reduce that number by 20%, but no less than 15 minimum youth. So if you, for example, propose to serve 60 youth, and you can reduce, and you received 80% of the grant, you could reduce that number by 12. But you cannot go below the minimum requirement for a bridge grant, which is 15. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear, and I will update that. We're going to be sending out this PowerPoint presentation to you, and I will update that before sending it out. Over to you, Mark.
Shana.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shanna, and thank you, Marcus. And good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark Weinberger. I am one of the grants management specialists supporting OST grantees such as yourself. And I just want to extend my congratulations once again for your induction in the brand new bridge competition. And greetings to any return OST grantees who are here today, some familiar faces. And it's great to have you all on board and very excited for this next grant period. I want to get into a couple bit of details regarding compliance in terms of background check guidance and other areas here. It's important to note that all individuals, whether they're staff or volunteers that work directly with youth at OST grant-funded program sites, even virtual sites, must complete the required background checks in order to be eligible to work directly with these young people. So this includes vendors for coordinating entities or subcontracted entities. So if you have a program partner that you might subcontract and their staff regularly come into contact with the youth in your programs, you want to ensure that they complete this background check process at all. So it's important to note there are 3 background checks that are required to be compliant and to be eligible to work with youth in the District of Columbia as an OST grantee. And that includes the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, criminal background check, the DC Metropolitan Police Department, DCMPD, as well as the National Sex Offender Registry, also known as NSO. So please note that these background checks are valid for 2 years from the date in which they are initiated and which they are completed. But during that year, that interim year, 1 year after they've been completed, it is required for grantees and those subsequent staff to complete affidavit forms. And so those affidavits are basic templates that can be found within our grantee guidebook and also can be provided to you by your grants management specialist. And the affidavit just basically verifies that there's been no change in their criminal history since the original initiation date of those background checks. So that affidavit should be signed by that individual as along with a witness, such as an administrator or someone who is in charge of the program, such as yourself. And the grantee guidebook can be found on learn24.dc.gov. And it's also should be dropped into the chat if anyone has access to that. But your grants management specialist can also email you a PDF copy for your records. I think we are ready to move on to the next slide. And thank you, Alex, for the timely drop of the guidebook in the chat. So it's one thing to note that grantees can manage their own background checks themselves, and you can utilize grant funds to cover expenses related to background checks. So some organizations will facilitate background checks from third-party providers such as Interquest, for example. However, the OST office does facilitate the background check process thanks to a partnership with the DC Office of Human Resources, also known as DCHR. So that process is fully subsidized by the OST office. So if you do want to enlist your staff to undergo the DCHR process, you will be able to participate in that process free of charge. And the DCHR background check process for FY24 does encompass the FBI, MPD, and NSO background checks through DCHR. So to take advantage of this subsidized background check process, you should please contact your assigned grants management specialist with the full legal name and email of the individual, and subsequent instructions will be provided for that individual to register for a field print appointment and then submit their fingerprints. And please note, when providing names, please utilize their full legal name that includes middle names and/or any hyphenated last names. It's helpful to have the full name so we can locate the results once they are received from DCHR. For subsidized background checks, as noted, just contact your assigned grants management specialist, and you're also welcome to contact backgroundcheck.learn24@dc.gov, which I am putting in the chat right there. Grantees must ensure that the staff attend their DCHR appointment, which is through a corresponding field print location, which they can select based on where they reside, and that their clearance check is received within 10 days of the appointment. So once they register, they should follow suit and submit fingerprints within 10 days of that registration. We're ready to go to the next slide. So once their fingerprints are received by DCHR and they administer the suitability check, those results will be forwarded over to the OST office. Once the OST office receives those results, they will be provided directly to the grantee point of contact. Please note, once you receive that information, you will want to make a copy for your records and redact any personally identifiable information from the return criminal background check results. And that includes social security number, including the last 4 digits, as well as the date of birth. That way we uphold best practices for transferring digital data. And then once you have those results, you will be able to upload them to the correlating staff profile within CitySpan, where you will be managing your staff and student data throughout the grant period. So I think we are able to move on to the next slide. There we go. So this is just an example of general redaction practices that might take place. So you see here on the left, this individual received a letter, and they, might have used some digital tool, maybe it's Adobe, maybe it's just a picture viewer, some program you have on your computer, and you can just black out the information, that personal identifiable information there. And just be sure to utilize the practice on the left and not the practice on the right. The blurred out practice isn't quite coherent there. So just general best practices we want to ensure for safe transfer of data, because once you receive that information, you will be uploading to those staff profiles in CitySpan. Then we can move on to the next slide. So one thing to note, if any of your staff are DC Public School employees or they are volunteers at DC Public Schools, DCPS and OSSI clearance letters are acceptable and adequate representation of the completion of the FBI, MPD, and NSO background checks. For DCPS staff in particular, if they have a copy of their non-expired ID, that has been deemed adequate as representation for the completion of the background check process. Otherwise, for those volunteers, you will kindly want to ensure that you receive a letter of verification from DCPS clearance and DCPS compliance. Once you receive that information, as noted, you will upload that to the CitySpan staff profile, which is our online data management system that you'll be utilizing throughout the FY24 grant period. Please do not upload any applications, or maybe it's like a letter verifying that they have registered for an appointment or that they're going to undergo the background check. We don't need that. We just need the results, or in the case of the DCPS employees, a copy of their non-expired ID. One-day visitors are exempt from clearance requirements as long as they are under direct supervision of a staff member with appropriate clearances at all times. And one thing to note, within your CitySpan staff profiles, you will be able to specify if they are supervised or unsupervised. But if they are visitor, just maybe it's a special volunteer and they're coming to do a presentation, they are not required. But if they are an ongoing volunteer, they should undergo the background check process. And I think we can move on to the next slide. And for new hires, new personnel, new volunteers, please ensure that they complete this background check process within the first week of employment for your organization and maintain that proof of submission within their personnel files. Grantees that fail to do so will be out of compliance with grant requirements. And we want to ensure that you all stay in compliance and that you're upholding best practices for safe, secure, supportive OST environments. I think we can move on to our FERPA waiver. All right, so FERPA. This is known as the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. This is general language that has been utilized throughout the United States and heavily emphasized throughout the District of Columbia. We strongly encourage you incorporate this language within your initial registration and enrollment forms. This language provides transparency to parents and guardians that data sharing might take place from DCPS as well as OSSI, and providing verification on behalf of those parents and guardians, specifying that they consent to the sharing of data, including IEP information, student enrollment, student ID information, demographic data, attendance data, all of this data that can be shared across DC agencies, promote transparency, awareness, and also support the work that you all do in your programs. We strongly encourage that you incorporate this information within your initial registration form. It's a lot easier when you are registering youth to join your programs to have this as maybe a secondary page when parents are signing all the information, maybe specifying allergies. You have this FERPA information incorporated there. And we do have FERPA language included within our grantee guidebook. And your grants management specialist can also provide you this language in case you are in need of a documented copy. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to our data analyst, Olaide Ibaranke, who will talk a bit more about student surveys and CitySpan data management. Take it away, Ola.
Thank you so much, Mark. My name is Olaide Ibaranke. Okay, so first, before we jump into CitySpan overview, I want to talk to you a bit about COI. COI, which stands for Survey of Academics and Youth Outcomes. Youth Survey is a brief survey that all grantees, except for those offering one-on-one services or who are otherwise exempt, such as special competitions, must administer to all youth participants who are in the fourth grade or above that do not do opt out. Say why ask the student questions about what they think of the program you offer and the potential benefit of attending the program. Grantees must also administer COI within the first 6 weeks of FY24 programming, and again in May 2024 or within the final 4 weeks of programming. For year-round grantees, there will also be a separate summer survey conduct within the last 4 weeks of your programming. All information collected through the COI is confidential, and no individual child or their individual responses will be identified. Next slide, please. Participation in the COI is voluntary, like student personal identification information protected by the FEPA waiver. A student parent guardian must provide consent before your organization can administer the COI. Therefore, we suggest that with the FEPA waiver that you include this consent as part of your enrollment packet. For your convenience, we have also included a COI consent template in the LEN 24 grantee guidebook. Next slide. Lastly, as it relates to COI, please note that grantees are required to administer the survey to no less than 30 participants during the beginning and the end of the year. Failure to do so will lead to compliance issue. The reason this is important is that this captures student voice, and as such is an essential sort of qualitative data demonstrating program outcomes. A summary report will be generated by our office and shared with you later the completion of each report so that you can use the data to build on strengths and adjust as needed. If you have any questions regarding the COI, please contact the OST data office. Mark, you can help me put the email there, len24data@dc.gov. Next slide, please. So now we are going to step away from grant compliance for a minute to just discuss data management, which is an essential component of maintaining compliancy. Next slide. In addition to COY, all data points relevant to OST grant management are housed in CitySpan, and the link is provided here. Please note, this is a separate link from the RFA site where you applied for the grant. This site is the data management site for grantees. Most of you should have an account, but if you don't, I will be working with you to establish an account in the coming days. CitySpan is the database management system used to track important grant information, including organization and site information, staff information, and background clearances, youth participants, and daily attendance. This year, as Marcus mentioned, the extension of the grant agreement will also exist within CitySpan. In addition to the grant agreement, all essential documents included with the RFA, required training certificates, staff and volunteer background clearances, and any amendment made to the grant agreement after execution will be stored in CitySpan. We are also working on moving all programs, reports, compliance report, and eventually even finances into the CitySpan portal. But bear with us as we continue to roll out more automated 21st century system based. But know that the goal is to create a more streamlined and user-friendly grant management experience for you, our grantees. Next slide, please. Just some important reminders regarding timelines for data entry. Within 20 business days prior to the start of programming, grantee must enter enrolled participant information, which includes full name, date of birth, school name, grade, gender, permanent residence, zip code, race, ethnicity. This year, we are asking that you also provide verification of on-file parent guardian provided by FEPR and COY consent form for each student participant into the CitySpan database. That would be possible through just a simple checkbox verification. Also, note that grantees must enter attendance of participant in the CitySpan database weekly. Next slide, please. As you be aware, our office will be hosting a training to walk through the CitySpan system tomorrow, October 11th at 2 p.m. This training is mandatory for all grantees, particularly those staff who will be serving as database administrators. We will be reviewing the grant agreement process during this training, as well as providing an overview of how to enter new required information into the system. Then, on the next day, Thursday, October 12th, we'll be offering part 2 of the CitySpan training, at which time we will cover how to add youth participant reporting, attendance, and administering COY surveys. You should have received the invite for the virtual training via email from your GMSs. Please let your GMSs know if you did not get this invite, and we will forward to you. As with COY, questions related to CitySpan should be directed to the data analyst team at len24data@dc.gov. With that, I'm going to pass it to Kimita, our allocation analyst.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kimita Payton, and I'm the Resource Allocation Analyst with the OST office, and I am going to talk about the insurance requirements for your grant. OST insurance requirements are included in the grant agreement. The OST office collaborates with the Office of Risk Management to determine program-specific coverage requirements. For any new grantees, I will reach out, if I haven't already, to you or your organization's point of contact to discuss the insurance requirements. Please do not contact ORM directly. Your certificates of insurance must be provided to me prior to the execution of any grant agreement and before any services can be rendered. If your insurance has already been approved by me and is current, you are good to go. Please note, if your insurance is coming up for renewal, it will need to be renewed before the end of the grant period. If you have any questions regarding insurance requirement, please reach out to me at the email address that will be listed in the chat. Okay, next slide. So this just outlines and details the process for any new grantees that are going through the insurance requirement process. This afternoon, you should have received an email from me this afternoon regarding the insurance review document. For all new grantees, an insurance review document must be completed. After you've completed that document, please return that to me or the OST office, and I will then enter that information into ORM's e-risk requirements, and then that will generate the requirements needed for your the insurance requirements needed for your grant. Once ORM reviews the IRD information, they will send back to OST the requirements. I will then send those requirements to you, and it's up to you to contact your insurance broker or your insurance agent to discuss getting the required policies and coverage that are needed for your grant. Once you receive that information and you receive your certificate of insurance, please email me back that information and I will send it to ORM so they can review it to ensure that you have the adequate coverage amount, adequate policies, and make sure everything is compliant. ORM will review your COI and they will determine if it was compliant. If it's compliant, we will update your information in the system and you'll be able to sign your grant agreement. Without a compliant COI, you will not be able to execute your grant agreement, and therefore programming cannot start until you have an executed grant agreement. Next slide, please. And for our returning or continued grantees that have already been with OST, your process is a little bit easier. You just have to send me your current or your updated COI. Again, stating if you have a COI, you have upcoming renewal dates that are coming up, you can still send your COI to me, but please send me that updated COI so ORM will have, or OST and ORM will have the updated policy on file. ORM will still have to review your COI to make sure it is still up to date and compliant. You will receive a compliancy check from ORM. They will send me that information and we will update that information in our system to make sure you are compliant for FY24. Once you receive that, you'll receive your grant agreement. You'll be able to we'll be able to sign your grant agreement, and your grant agreement will be executed, and you'll be therefore be able to begin programming. Next slide, please. If you have any questions or any inquiries about your insurance policy questions or anything of that nature, please do not hesitate to contact contact OST. OST, we will contact ORM on your behalf. On the call, if you need to talk to ORM, please have on the call with you your insurance broker. ORM likes to have the insurance broker, the grantee, yourself, a representative from OST to be on the call so you can have all the parties necessary to make sure that we cover your questions about your insurance and any of the requirements that are needed. Please do not contact ORM directly. We will contact them for you and we will set up a meeting. For any further information, my email address is listed on the slide. You can contact me. ORM is always available for any questions you may have. You can send me your questions. I'll shoot it to them. More than likely, they'll send me an email back with the answer to your questions. We need to set up a call with them. Please do not hesitate to let me know if you want to just talk it out or is anything that you need further clarification on. I will turn it over right now to Howard so he can go over any other safety requirements that are needed for your grant compliance.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Dr. Howard Hope, and it is my pleasure to welcome you all and congratulate you on your recent grant funding allocation. So definitely congratulations to everyone, and I hope everyone is doing well. The Out of School Time Office has a series of additional requirements, all which are listed within your grant agreement. Listed here are requirements related to safety. First, all grantees are required to have at least one designated mandate reporter per each site serving youth. While all staff working with youth are mandated reporters, we require demonstration of at least one staff per site completing the mandated reporter training and uploading the certificate or certificates, plural, of completion into CitySpan. Please note, all program staff should know who the certified mandated reporter is and the process for contacting this individual. In addition, we require all out-of-school time grantees to have a bullying prevention policy approved by the District of Columbia Office of Human Rights. To contact OHR To receive guidance on completing the policy and to obtain approval, please feel free to reach out to Mr. Ernest Shepard at ernest.shepard@dc.gov. Next slide. In addition, all OST grantees are required to have at least one person trained in CPR first aid on site. The CPR personnel do not need to be program staff, but they must be on site at all times. Certificates should also be added to CitySpan, and all personnel should know how to contact the CPR certified individual on site. For TB, this is site specific. So if the site requires it, then staff should have it. Otherwise, this is not required by Learn24. Next slide. Other requirements include ongoing administrative checks. Your grants management specialist will work with you to help ensure all requirements are met during the grant period. This will include ensuring all youth participants have been entered into CitySpan and that your actual enrollment is meeting your projected. This year, this will also include checks on the demographics of students served to make sure you're meeting within a plus or minus 10% of the projected targeted population you propose to serve in your application. We will also be conducting checks on FERPA, which has been mentioned, and SAOY, which has also been mentioned, waivers this year to ensure they are on file. Other compliancy checks will include ensuring all staff have completed required background checks and mandated trainings, student-staff ratios, incident reports, safety and security virtual protocols, sign-in or attendance procedures, and sign-in sheets and exit and pick-up procedures. I know that's a mouthful, but just want to kind of point that out. Just as a note, sign-in sheets are different from the uploaded CitySpan information. Sign-in sheets are where the information that is uploaded actually comes from. Physical sign-in sheets / tablet check, OFFs, chat box, program manager notes, all of those can be compiled to meet that requirement. Next slide. It goes without saying that grantees should provide access, either virtually or in person, to all required documents and programming components upon request. As needed, site visits may also be conducted to monitor compliance, programmatic, fiscal, and administrative requirements. During site visits, grantees should provide access to files, policies, plans, processes, protocols, reports, credentials, participants, staff, facilities, on-site community partners, fiscal, and organizational records. A full list of compliancy requirements can be found in the Learn24 Grantee Guidebook, which is linked here, but can also be found on the Learn24 website on the Grantees page. A grant management record binder or electronic folder with clearly labeled file names is a best practice to manage grants and can assist with a site visit. The binder should contain the required documents, including those listed here on this screen. And now I'm going to hand it over to my wonderful colleague, Ms. Karita Green, another one of our grants management specialist team members, and she will provide some guidance on grant reporting. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, everyone. Congratulations again. And thank you, Dr. Ho, for introducing me. I am the GMS with Learn24, and my name is Karita Green, and I will be working with our entire team in making sure that you guys are all successful this year. All right, so next slide. All right. Other requirements that are required by your grant, the bridge grant, is record management. It's very important that all the record management pieces are in place. It really helps us to make sure that you guys are successful. So some of the things that we really need to make sure that you guys are managing are the copy of the grant agreement, the program schedules, program plans or syllabi, safety and security protocols, staff background clearances, like what my colleague Mark discussed earlier, enrollment forms, FERPA, consent forms, attendance records, sign-in sheets. Dr. Hope went over that as well. Incident report, detailed expenditures, receipts, and other documentations for payments, timesheets, agreements, payroll records. All these things are very, very important for us to manage on our end to make sure that you guys are successful on your end. Next slide. Grant reporting. Okay, next slide. We're going to go into the reporting schedule for our grant reports. Grant reports go in different, we have different phases in which you guys have to report. We have 4 quarterly program reports that our grantees must follow. For the first quarter, those reports are due between November 6th and December 1st of this year. The quarter 2 reports are due between January 29th of 2024 and February 23rd, 2024. Our third grant report will be due between April 8th, 2024 and May 3rd, 2024. The final fourth program report will be due between June 17th, 2024 and July 12th, 2024. And for our Summer Strong, this is Bridge, Summer Strong program report, our year-round grantees, Summer Strong program reports are due between August 2026, 2024 and September 20th, 2024. It's very important that these reports go in on time because there's a lot of behind the scenes that your GMS has to do to make sure that everyone has met their compliances with amount youth served, programs that were delivered to the youth here in DC. And so it's really important that these reports are submitted to your GMS on time. If there is an issue with maybe submitting on time, just reach out to your GMS and we'll reach out to our supervisor, Ms. Sampson, and make sure that an extension can be given. But we really would need that open communication if you're not going to be able to make that due date. Next slide. All right, so invoicing. Invoicing is the foundation of this entire for our grants, right? So our invoices go in 3 different stages. So the first invoice, you will have to submit 50% of your award, and that is between October 1st and December 1st of this year. And then the additional 2 invoices will follow. Invoice 2 will be 25% of your grant award, and that will be due between January 1st and March 15th of next year, 2024. Invoice 2, you must provide some kind of spend down, 25% of your spend down, receipts, invoices paid. You must provide that documentation for invoice 2, as well as invoice 3. Invoice 3 will be the final 25% of your grant award, and that is due between April 15th and June 28th of 2024. And in that third invoice, you must demonstrate 60% of your spend down. It's very important that when grantees are submitting invoices that you really do pay attention to detail. For a grant manager, for us on this end, we really look at invoice numbers, dates of the invoice, those 2 things that we look for must be very, they must be complete. They must be no missing numbers, no missing dashes. It has to be accurate, because if it doesn't, Miss Peyton is going to reject it, and we're going to have to start all over with you again. And to avoid any kind of mix up with invoices, just please make sure to get all your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed in that respect. Next slide. Next slide. All right, so our calendar for this year, as you can see, we have set up time, like dates as to when we're gonna have trainings, when our offices are closed. And as you can see, we're already almost halfway through October. So it's really important that you look at the link that we're going to share with you, which is a FY24 calendar. Please save it to your computer. Make sure all your program staff has this calendar so everyone can stay on track, because this is a way for us to stay on track as well as to what we're providing you guys as far as support. You'll see when we'll start doing site visits, when we will be doing compliance monitoring. I know as GMS, we always send out some kind of email saying, hey, FYI, we're going to be doing background check compliance monitoring this week, and stuff like that. So we'll remind you as those days get closer. We also keep in track. We also track DCPS closings, because I know some of our programs operate at the DCPS schools. And then, of course, like I mentioned before, the program reporting, you can always refer back to this calendar to see the different due dates for the different reports, whether it's 1, 2, 3, or 4, as also with the invoicing when invoices are due as well. So this is literally going to be your holy grail for your grant year, to keep you on track. And again, your GMS will also provide reminders to let you know when those due dates are approaching. Okay, next slide. I think I'm gonna pass it back to, yes. So I'm gonna pass it back to my wonderful colleague, Kimitha Payton, and she's gonna go over the financial management piece. Take it away, Kimitha.
Hello, everyone. I'm back again. Let's talk about invoicing. For your invoice, next slide, please. All right. To begin with, this year, all grantees must be registered in the DIFS portal to invoice and receive payment. Below you'll see the instructions of how to register in DIFS. You will have to select the new supplier registration. There's a registration aid that will show you step by step of what to do with the how to register. There was an issue brought up to our attention, so we have provided a little instruction on the drop down tab. So you have to select vendor when it asks you to request a supplier type. Please select vendor. But the instruction aid is very helpful. It'll show you step by step of how to register your organization to receive to invoice and also receive payment within the system. You must be registered in DIFS to send in invoices and receive payment. DIFS is a new system. Our office is unable to see the actual input of the input side of the system for you. So any questions, problems, or issues you may have with DIFS, the supplier support line, they have been wonderful in answering questions because the system is new. So there are a lot of questions, comments, and concerns about the new information. Please reach out to the supplier support line. The hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. You have the phone number here listed at 202-442-6870, and also an email address at support@diffsupport.zendesk.com. Please utilize this information. I will be unable to assist you with any help in the actual input in the system on your side, because our office does not see that information. We don't have the actual answers for that. But if you contact the support line, they have been very helpful thus far, and they will be able to guide you and see what issues you are having and actually get into to see your side of the system. Next slide, please. And here you will just see the timeline of here you will see the timeline of the process of when you have once you register to receiving payment. You're registered for diffs. Once you register for diffs, you'll go through the other information like background checks. You'll go through getting your COI and getting everything to make sure you have a signed executed grant agreement. You have your signed executed grant agreement. It will come back to our office and I will enter your information in to get you a purchase order number. The purchase order number will be, once it's generated, will be sent to diffs. And once you get that information, diffs will send you a notification letting you know you have a purchase order number. Once you receive that PO number, you are now able to submit invoices into diffs for payment. You must first, before submitting anything into diffs, any invoices into diff, please submit your invoice to your GMS for their approval. The GMS will have to check any information that you submit and back up and supporting information, and also the information you put into any information you may input into diffs on your invoice. So we ask that you please send that information in, because as Karita stated, if anything is not, if you put anything on your invoice that does not match in diffs, I will have to reject it and you have to start the process over. So we like to get it done so we can get your payment to you faster. Just do it one and done so you can make sure you get your payment timely. So once you receive approval from your GMS, you can then upload it into diffs. It would either be approved or rejected. If it's approved, you will receive a notification that was approved. You input it into diffs. Our office will review it, approve or reject it. If it's approved, we'll send it through to accounts payable, and they'll go through the process of approving it again, and also going through to see at the end and sending it for processing and payment. Once accounts payable approves it, they'll send it on to be approved for payment, and then you'll receive your payment via check or ACH payment. We are recommending that if you are able, your organization is able to, please register to have ACH payments. You'll receive payment much faster than a check. But if you're not able, we understand, but we are encouraging all organizations to register for ACH payments so you don't have to wait for a check to be mailed to you, or the unthinkable happen, it gets lost in the mail and then you don't have your check, but we paid it. Once everything is approved, you'll receive your payment via whatever payment method you have chosen. Next slide, please. Invoices, again, we're reiterating, invoices must be submitted to your GMS prior to uploading them into diffs. If I see a invoice come through into diffs and it has not been approved, if it's not been approved by your GMS, I will reject it. And then it will go back. You have to start again with the GMS approval, then uploading it into diffs. After receiving GMS approval, then you can upload it into diffs. Again, do not upload invoices into diffs without GMS approval. Next slide, please. And the type of, this is just a brief example of the type of things that we see on invoices that will get your invoice rejected, either by your GMS or by me as we're going through, looking through to make sure everything matches up in the system. Your invoice number must be shorter than 33 characters. Your PO number cannot be used as your invoice number. You can use anything else as your invoice number, but do not use your PO number as your invoice. Accounts payable will reject that. The information you put on your invoice must match what you put into diffs, exactly the same. The dates, the program dates, the service period dates, everything must be the same. If it's not the same, I will have to reject it in the system, and then you have to make the changes and resubmit your invoice. Your service period cannot include future dates after invoice 2. Invoice 1, you may use the entire grant period as your service date, but invoice 2 and 3 must be, their service dates must be the exact dates that you provided service. It cannot include future dates. So when you're using invoice 2, please do not put up there the grant period date, because that will be rejected and you have to restart again. Next slide, please. Invoices must be submitted to your GMS prior to uploading them into diffs. Very important. That's why we keep reiterating it. Service period for invoice 2 and 3 cannot include future dates. This invoice 1 service period for school year is October 1, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. For year round, October 1, 2023 through August 30th, 2024. For invoices 2 and 3, the service periods for school year and year round, dates of service after October 1 and up to the invoice date. And now I will pass it to Mr. Kevin Cotaldo to talk about quality and training.
Thanks, Kimitha. Hi, everybody. I'm Kevin Cataldo. I'm the manager for the Institute for Youth Development, and going to go over a few things in regards to the services that we provide through the Institute. Next slide, Alex. So the Institute for Youth Development does provide free professional development, both in-person and virtual workshops that are offered throughout the year. Best place to find that information is either through the Learn24 newsletter, or if you Google on Eventbrite, Learn24, you will also see registration links there, and we definitely highly encourage you and your team to register for any trainings of interest that we have upcoming. You can also visit the Learn24 professional development page to learn more about the workshops upcoming. And of course, feel free to email me at kevin.cataldo@dc.gov with any questions you may have. Next slide, Alex. There are a couple of required trainings for fiscal 24 OST grantees. The first will be a PQA basics workshop, and that will be actually delivered at the end of January, right at the beginning of February is our targeted dates. More information to come, especially through the Learn24 grantee emails. And we also are asking for this year, additionally, that all staff that are either partially or fully funded by the Learn24 grant also attend either virtually or in person one professional development training focused on supporting students with special needs. A couple of those that are coming up already that would be a requirement is coming towards the middle of October, and that one is entitled Gender and Sexuality 101. As an example, that would be one that would meet that requirement for this coming year. And then grantees also with the PQA Basics workshop. Once you attend that workshop, then you will complete a self-assessment as well. All of that information will be provided to those folks attending the PQA Basics workshop during the wintertime this year. Pretty much it will be about a total time commitment for grantees of 16 hours. And then we will ask you to submit that program quality assessment in order to meet that mandatory requirement. Next slide, Alex. I think it's still on the same one, Alex, at least on my end. I think I know what it is, but I can just go for it. I don't see it. There we go. There we go. We also offer, thanks, Alex. We'll also offer this coming year, and that'll be beginning in January 2024, what we call the full-fledged quality cohort. That dives much deeper into quality and quality programming. It is a voluntary opportunity for grantees this year. More information to come, especially when you're attending the PQA Basics workshop. Here it describes the different workshops that's provided, which is the PQA Basics workshop, a Planning with Data workshop, and a Quality Coaching workshop. Those participating program sites will complete a self-assessment and also will receive an external assessment by a certified external assessor that works for the Institute for Youth Development. If participating in the quality cohort, the total time commitment is approximately 40 hours. And we'll be providing more information in regards to that and how you would sign up when we kick everything off in January. Next slide, Alex. And then finally, part of the services that the Institute provides are the actual program site visits. For new grantees, definitely there will be a site visit conducted on site by one of the Institute for Youth Development staff members. You can find the site visit tool in your grantee handbook to take a look at that. And the site visit tool is actually several of the indicators from the program quality assessment tool that we utilize for the quality work that we provide here in the district. Site visits what we're asking for is to view actual regular programming and not like special performances. We also really do not want to see like tutoring, homework help, or snack mealtime. If you're a grantee that is doing one-on-one mentoring or homework help in that regard, you will be exempted from a site visit as well. And you'll receive emails from the Institute staff introducing themselves, starting to gather information in regards to your program dosage, etc. And then we will do a confirmation email as well to confirm the date and time that we'll be coming out to visit your program. And I believe that's everything on my end. So Alex, next slide. And I believe I'm passing it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Cataldo. I appreciate it. And welcome again, everybody. I appreciate you guys joining us. So I am Alex Brown, the Public Affairs Specialist with the OST office, focusing in on all things communication internally as well as externally as it relates to the OST office and the Learn24 network. The Learn24 connection. So as we start out, we do have a Learn24 office hours, and these monthly meetings are optional. They're held on the second Thursday of each month from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Any member of the grantees organization is allowed to attend. We do typically send out one invitation, but please feel free to forward and pass that invitation around to your team members if somebody else on your team is able to attend or is interested in attending. And then if you have a specific topic that you would like for us to cover, please email learn24@dc.gov, and we can see how we can incorporate that into our different trainings or workshops or the Learn24 office hours. So last month, we actually did have Monica Clark from OSI, who came and talked about the CACFC program and talked about how that could be instrumental and how that could be beneficial for after-school programs utilizing the OSI CAFC program as well. So as we look forward and as we continue to move forward throughout the year, we do try to find different topic areas and focus areas that might be beneficial to grantees, but also allow you guys the opportunity to simply come and ask questions or hear about different office updates from our office as it relates to the OSC office and different things we have going on. Additionally, we have the Learn24 newsletter, which is a bi-weekly newsletter that actually went out this morning. And just by way of luck, you guys have all registered to be participants and subscribers to the Learn24 newsletter. And we appreciate you guys reading as well as providing valuable tips. If you do have any job postings or upcoming events, please feel free to email me or email us. You can either email me directly at alex.brown@dc.gov or learn24@dc.gov, and we can include those or look for ways to include those not only in the newsletter, but also on our website. We have an events calendar as well as we have professional development opportunities that we always try to list and highlight that might be beneficial. But the Learn24 newsletter is a focus that is geared towards not only just providing valuable information as it relates to the Learn24 office or the OST office, and the greater DC area, but also opportunities that might be beneficial to include professional development opportunities, grant opportunities that are not only locally, but also nationally, and then also various community opportunities as well as promising practices in the field. So please feel free to not only read the Learn24 newsletter, but also send over materials or send over job postings or different things of that nature if you do have those, and so we can include that in the Learn24 newsletter as well. Learn24 brand ambassadors. So as grantees, you guys play a major part as Learn24 ambassadors by helping all DC youth and families access meaningful educational and enrichment activities across the city. The Learn24 network is proud to have such committed partners and individuals working to enhance the lives of youth in the nation's capital. One thing to note, as a brand ambassador, there are many opportunities for you guys to highlight and say that you're a part of the Learn24 network, or include that you receive funding through the OST office or the Office of the Deputy Mayor for Education. Grantees should add the Learn24 or Learn24 logo to their website, organizational website. Grantees may also use the Learn24 web's logo on program recruitment flyers and posters, as well as registration packets, program booklets, or final showcases. Grantees should not use the Learn24 logo on fundraising materials, physical structures for capital improvements, political sponsors, political agendas, or materials, or clothing, t-shirts, or clothing items such as t-shirts, hats, bags, etc. One of the reasons that we ask and we want programs to not only highlight and say that they're a part of the Learn24 network is because it amplifies Learn24 as it continues to amplify the amount of outreach that our office does. What happens from there is it increases our brand awareness and amplifies our brand, not only throughout the district, but also to city council, as we continuously look for more ways to impact our city. One of the ways we can do that is as we continue to amplify our message. They do see that there is a growing need, and there is a true touch point that we are creating with our funding streams. And so as we continue to highlight Learn24 programs, it does offer us the opportunity to continuously amplify our brand, as well as advocate even more to city council as well as others about additional funding opportunities. And so we do highly recommend and suggest you guys continue to amplify that, and we thank you in advance. And I'll go back, and then we do the Learn24 outreach events. So we have instituted two events that we hold every year. One is After School in the City, that was held on September 9th, I'm sorry, Saturday, September 9th, and then Summer in the City, which is also scheduled for, which is tentatively scheduled for March the 30th, 2024. These two events allow families and community-based organizations the opportunity to connect and directly talk, or allow families the opportunity to hear directly from community-based organizations about the programs that are being offered within their community, and about the different services that each one of these great community-based organizations are putting on, and allowing kids to be kids in different environments and in different settings. And whether it's a different after-school program, or a different STEM program, or a different tutoring program, each one of these opportunities are, each one of these Learn24, After School in the City, or Summer in the City, are opportunities for community-based organizations to directly speak with families about how they can, how families can interact and be involved in the programs. If I remember, going off memory, After School in the City last month, we had over 300 registrants for that, as well as over 60 exhibitors. And then if you are a grantee, it is a new requirement that you must either participate in After School in the City or Summer in the City. And as we already know, After School in the City has already taken place. So please make plans to participate in Summer in the City, which is tentatively scheduled again for Saturday, March the 30th. And if you have any questions as it relates to After School in the City, Summer in the City, or anything of the sort, please feel free to email me at alex.brown@dc.gov, and I could definitely be able to assist you and answer any questions that you may have as it relates to that. Additionally, we know that each program enters their information into CitySpan, but then we also have the opportunity that if you have multiple programs, you can also include additional programs in the Learn24 program finder. And this helps families as they are looking to find after school or summer programs for their child, that they can go to the Learn24 program finder and literally be able to utilize different drop-down menus or different search criteria to identify and find after-school or summer programs that might be available for their child. So please feel free to utilize this link. And once again, this link will also be available in the slides that we send out. But please feel free to utilize that link and include any additional programs that you may want to include on the Learn24 program finder. Learn24 Connect contacts. So here's just a list of all of the team's email addresses. So please feel free to either jot this down or, once again, sorry, I forgot about it. It's actually going to be coming to you shortly as we do send out all the meeting notes as well as the presentation from today. So you will have all of our contact information, the general email account, as well as each individual's email addresses if you have specific concerns or questions that you can reach out to them directly for. So this first slide is just the grants management team, as well as the general email inquiry box. And then as we go to the next slide, we also have Mr. Cataldo's email address, as well as the data analyst team as well. So please feel free to utilize these contacts, get in contact with us. We are very responsive. We pride ourselves on responding to your emails, as well as making sure that the communication is always ongoing, and here to answer any questions that you may have. So please feel free to reach out to us in whatever way suits you best. And then the upcoming training dates. And Shana, you want me to finish this, or you?
No, I can jump in real quick, and thank you, everyone, for sticking with us. I know it's a lot of information. As you know, tomorrow we will be jumping into CitySpan, which is our data management system, and that will follow up with a part 2 on the 12th. If you are a new grantee, all of our FY24 providers, it will be part 2 of CitySpan for them on Thursday. So we will grow from a small team to a very large team of nearly 135 grantees, and you will see lots of folks across there. But again, I just want to thank you. I want to point out real quickly that I know there are questions around CitySpan and how to access your grant agreement. That is what we will be jumping in tomorrow. Before the training tomorrow, if you were the point of contact listed on your Bridge grant application or any grant application, you should be able to access CitySpan using, if you are new, you will receive a email from CitySpan that will provide you the directions for setting up the account information, because it is not the RFA portal. It is a separate portal where all of your information is rolled over into for data management. So you will see all your information there. If you are a new grantee or a new point of contact, you will receive that information for how to log in. If you had a grant in years past and you still have that contact or login information, you can still use that. But if you have forgotten it, we will work with you so that you have access. But again, that will start tomorrow with our training on how to access CitySpan and grant management, starting with the grant application tomorrow. So don't worry about that. Your grant management specialist is going to follow up with an email to you this afternoon with all of the documents that we went over today. But let me just say this. We know this is a lot of information. I remember the first time I got a large grant that had a lot of requirements and just feeling so overwhelmed in the first orientation meeting. This is just a big overview, but your grant management specialist is going to be there every step of the way to give you fair warning on reminders of what needs to be done, to follow up, to provide support. We are there as your partners in this. We want you to be successful. There will never be a gotcha moment. We are never looking for you to not meet a requirement. We want you to always meet those requirements, and we'll be working hand in hand to make sure that you are successful, so that you are successful in serving the youth. So just know that. Don't feel, I know it's a lot of information, but, take some deep breaths and we'll get through this together. And by the end of this year, you're going to be old pros. So again, thank you for being with us this afternoon. We really appreciate your time, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow afternoon.